We're here at Dutch Blockchain Week and we're here with Justin BONS from Cyber Capital. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm doing well.
You're famous of your comments here at the Shark Tank or panel discussions, also on Twitter about Bitcoin, and you criticize Bitcoin. But I mean, for most of people in the market, Bitcoin is still the way to go. If you look at the institutions, Fidelity, Bucked, they all start with the king of the market. So.
I think I would disagree with that actually. In terms of institutional adoption, I think Ethereum is a lot further along in more significant ways. In terms of partnerships with things like Microsoft, I mean, they're building out development tools right now. You don't see that really happening in Bitcoin. So I think, I know that a lot of people are really putting their bets on institutional adoption of Bitcoin. But I'm far more bullish on real utility, something that's useful, doing DeFi, doing dApps. These things are far more exciting than just thinking about something that has essentially become a purely speculative asset at this point.
Speculative asset? Yeah.
Yes, a purely speculative asset. Mind if I take the microphone? I feel far more comfortable.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. All right. So if I explain that, currently, BTC has a policy, right? Has a vision, right? That they will not increase the block size limit, right? So that's currently the position. So it's limited to about 7 transactions per second or so, right? And what that means over the longer term, right, is a kind of a type of existential crisis that Bitcoin has. It's the same existential crisis that Bitcoin Cash has, for that matter.
I mean, what's the extent? I mean, we're still in a very young industry, and the original thought is a peer-to-peer electronic cash. And in the Western world, there's no necessity to actually use cryptocurrency as a means of payment, right?
Yes and no. I would say we just had a discussion from someone from Venezuela who definitely thought it was very useful for people there. So I don't think that's necessarily the case, and there's something to be said about helping people that actually need this technology. I'm a lot less inspired about people, just betting on this thing. I see and actually even from an investment perspective, I see far more value in something that is useful, something that people can use, something that has real utility. Now, to go back to your question about, is it really wise to say, well, Bitcoin Cash is great because it's a currency. It can be used as a currency, and that is the big selling point. I don't actually think that is the big selling point. It's not even the big selling point for Bitcoin. It's not the big selling point for Bitcoin Cash. The amazing thing about a blockchain is that it's a trust ledger. It's a way for us to have trust without centralized authorities, right? And this can be extended to many different applications, right? But if we think about the economics of a blockchain, if we think about, what it means to be a store of value, right? Historically, a store of value has always first been a medium of exchange. This has historically been true. And I think the vision of Bitcoin, for me, is that it is not just a store of value, it is also a currency. And it's also a platform for applications. It's a way to do governance without centralized trust or control, right? And when you combine all of these things in one blockchain, that is a far superior blockchain to any blockchain that just does one of those things, because it's a virtuous cycle. They feed back on each other. So in this example, I could say that if something is a medium of exchange, meaning that you can use it to buy and sell, you can go to the grocery store, it's relatively stable, right? It's and all these things. These are the same characteristics that also make something a good store of value, right?
So what's the ideal scenario for you personally? What's the ideal scenario for you personally for this industry, for this technology?
I mean, the ideal scenario for me, look, that's actually a very tough question. So the ideal scenario, okay, you got me here. So I disconnect the ideal scenario from what I actually think is the likely scenario. Unfortunately, these are two different things to me. Yeah. So the ideal scenario would be the whole world adopts cryptocurrency, as a store of value tomorrow. I mean, that's the best scenario, right?
Without a third party.
Without a third party, peer-to-peer electronic cash.
No banks, no states.
Right. But I'm going to be the first one to say that that's not a realistic scenario whatsoever, especially in the first world where we don't really have a need for a currency like this. And actually, I'm going to take that back. People don't feel the need for a currency like this, at least in their day-to-day exchange. I see a need for it, but it's much more from a kind of a macroeconomic perspective and what it means to have cryptocurrency in a larger society and in relation to central bank policy and inflation in this example.
But personally, do you use your wallet to pay a beer or to pay the bitterballs or to pay the Uber? I mean, you still probably use, I think, it's an assumption, PayPal or a bank or whatever.
No, of course. Whenever I can use cryptocurrency, I do. But I do it for ideological reasons. And that's why I don't think that cryptocurrency as a currency is going to get widely adopted in the first world anytime soon. Because the majority of people are not going to do it for ideological reasons. That's another reason why, you know, I'm a critic of BTC, because it requires an ideological motivation. I'm much more bullish on projects that people will use because they need to use it, because it's useful, because it saves a business money, because it allows people to do things that they were not able to do before. Right? I don't see that in BTC now, but I see it in many other competing projects. And talking about adoption, I think it's far more likely we'll see dApps being used or different financial instruments. And many people might not even know they're using it in their wallet. Right? It's just going to be an application on their phone. They might not even know they're using cryptocurrency on the back end. You know, I'm also very much like the idea of DAOs and the new applications that creates. So yes, I support Bitcoin Cash. Yes, I support Ethereum. Yes, I don't support BTC. You know, I'm a pluralist. But what I really believe in at the end of the day is that this technology enables economic freedom. It enables us to do things we were not able to do before. This is real. And to think of it as purely a speculative asset, to me, is really missing the point of this technology, and it can do so much more.
But the reality is, it is a speculative asset. If you look at the use of Bitcoin or even Bitcoin Cash, I mean, it's an investment, it's a speculation, but not...
So I'm going to put it out there. 99% of value of pretty much all cryptocurrencies are speculation, right? True. Yeah, so it's absolutely speculation. But the question is we have a bigger goal than that. Our goal was never, we do this for speculation, let's make a quick buck and get out. No, that's not why we're doing this. We're doing this because it actually has a use, because it's useful, you know, because it actually enables people to do things they weren't able to do before. It can change our world, it can change our society. You know, it can really do a lot of good, right? And yes, it's a purely speculative asset now, but I am convinced that that is not the future of this technology. This technology is so much more than that, and that the way that BTC is moving is it's currently only useful in a speculative sense, at least very limited in comparison to what something, compared to a blockchain that can scale, that can do cheap transactions.
Yeah. I mean, on my side, I can argue that most of the people do have BTC. Most of the people don't have BCH. So what's the use of exchanging BCH if there's no need to have BCH?
Things don't remain static. Things don't remain the same. Things change. Just because BTC is the biggest asset on the market now doesn't mean that it will keep being the biggest asset. Okay? Especially in its current technological state. I believe in the technology more than I do the meme of Bitcoin.
I mean, Bitcoin took more than 10 years to get like this position, like this dominance of 60% in the market. BCH is like 1.5 year active. So
the Bitcoin today is not the Bitcoin from 4 years ago, okay? Many people adopted Bitcoin, myself included, because it could be used as a currency, because it was useful, because it was cheap. You know, it was inexpensive, it was easy to use. It has lost these characteristics. So I think much of Bitcoin's current success is hedged on its past promises. And its past promises are no longer true. And the core development team has been very clear about this. And, you know, if you're still waiting for BTC to increase the block size and to fix this problem, it has already happened, right? It's called Bitcoin Cash. It's called Ethereum. You know, this fragmentation has already occurred, right?
Right. I mean, what is the use of cryptocurrency? Is it to break the existing powers then?
I think there's many uses for cryptocurrency, and I think the use for cryptocurrency depends on the individual. It depends what you want to do. You know, you can do some very good and legitimate things, and you can also do some very fraudulent things with it. You know, there's dark markets out there. There's all this stuff happening. I think the power of this technology, it's the two sides of the coin, so to speak. You know, when we first learned how to split the atom, we could make bombs and we could make nuclear reactors. You know, the same is true for cryptocurrency. There's a lot of harm that comes from this technology, but I thoroughly believe that we are doing more good than harm overall. And I think that's usually always the case when we adopt such new social systems and forms of organization. And it's important to be realistic about that at the same time.
I mean, we mentioned, of course, Ethereum. You have the Ethereum alliances, and what you see, I mean, you mentioned Microsoft. So what you see, there's a trend that existing companies adopt this technology. What do you think? I mean, JP Morgan, Facebook, Microsoft, Samsung, Apple is putting out a crypto kit. So adoption seems to be growing, but is that the way to go?
I think it's multifaceted. I think, yes, it is the way to go. But it goes, look, I mean, I'm happy in whatever way this comes about. I just want this technology to become more prominent in the world. I want it to be used. I want it to change our underlying social structures for a large part. And, you know, what is being used for now, what is going to be used for tomorrow, that's up to people. And that's the beauty of such a permissionless system. You know, you can do a lot of things with this. You know, and what people are using it for now is not necessarily what people are going to use it for in the future. And just because something is the biggest now doesn't mean it's going to be the biggest in the future. And you know, what I do in Cyber Capital is I do fundamental research. You know, and I really look at the technology. I talk to the people. You know, and you know, I'm here saying that the emperor's not wearing any clothes when it comes to Bitcoin, unless you accept that it's purely a speculative asset and it cannot really be used viably and competitively compared to other blockchain systems, or even just the original design of Bitcoin as it was intended. Honestly, works. That's just not what Bitcoin is today. It has clearly diverted from that path.
So we have to subtract the technology from the market?
No. The technology can't be subtracted from the market. That's one of the fascinating aspects of cryptocurrency. The reason why Bitcoin is today arguably the most secure is because it is the most valuable. The moment another cryptocurrency, let's say assuming they're also a proof of work system and things are equal, then that will be the most secure cryptocurrency. The moment it loses its dominance position relative to its inflation rate.
But the thing is, can technology actually change the social structures? Can it change the power that be? I mean, it's a very broad question, but...
Absolutely. Look at us now. We're on YouTube. All right, this wasn't possible 20 years ago.
True.
I don't think what you were doing today was possible 20 years ago. You know, I mean, this is beautiful. Our world has changed so much in the last few decades. It's profound. It's hard to even keep up with it and understand its impact. You know, and yes, absolutely, technology can changes our civilization, changes our organization. It's very integral to what we are, and at the same time, we also make subjective judgments about these things. It's one of the reasons I'm not a maximalist, because people are simply going to believe different things, and I'm not going to try to say that yes, it's all going to be this one way and not any other way. No, that's just not how the world works. If you look at history, that's not how history has gone. You know,
fundamentalism.
No, fundamentalism, like an extremism that we see in this tunnel vision, it's very damaging. You know, we need to have a more open mind and actually understand that within the pluralism of choice, we get greater decentralization. If we only had one coin to rule them all, that's a nightmare to me. That seems very totalitarian. That means I can only use this particular financial system. I can only use this set of economic rules in order to transact with people. That's terrifying. That's truly terrifying. You know, that's why it's good that we have many cryptocurrencies. It's good that we have a pluralism of choice. The competition it creates is a crucible of pressure that's creating diamonds. You know, that's the beauty of this. It's the free market at work. That's what cryptocurrency represents. We should be more, you know, we should embrace the competition. You know, and we talk about technological change. One of my primary criticisms behind BTC is that, you know, the technological change there is very limited because of the, you know, ideologies and the forms of governance they've adopted around it.
All right. Thank you very much, Justin, for your insights, and yeah, let's continue this talk another time. So yeah, we really have to. And thank you very much.
Thank you.